Hello. For anyone who may be new here, my name is Cindy and welcome to Snacks and Stacks. We talk about books, TV, and movies. Although we mainly focus on books, I feel like I like talking about those the most so far. And yeah, it's been like 2 months. It's officially a whole brand new year. And I was super busy and also just didn't have the energy to record anything, and I didn't read very much. To be honest, this past 2 months in November and December, I will put up all these books that I read and listened to. A lot of them were 3 stars, and I believe only 4 books were actually 4 stars and above. So those will be the ones that I mainly talk about in this November and December wrap-up. So let's get to it. I need to grab my phone, have my notes on there. I hope everyone's doing well. It's been so busy, and also like I've been trying to relax a lot because it's so much to do at this time, and our busy time actually does not end yet, since my son's birthday is in January near the end, and we have a lot of other family members' birthdays in January. So January is basically just as busy as November and December, and then especially with like school coming back up and then everyone wanting to do like New Year stuff. I feel like my business gets busy around this time too, so it is a lot. So in November and December, I physically read 5 books, I did 7 audiobooks, and I had 2 DNF. I DNF'd Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, mostly because I tried to listen to it and I couldn't quite get the story through audio, and so I tried reading it, but then I got bored since it was like a repeat, and I never realized how long Pride and Prejudice is, and I did myself a disservice of just like trying to find the summaries, because I was trying to like relate what I was listening to, what was happening, and trying to figure it all out. So I had to put it down for now. I do think I'll try again, but I felt like it was kind of hard to read and get into. And the other book I DNF'd was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I was kind of in the mood to try a thriller, and I've heard that her books are like popcorn thrillers and really fun and exciting, but there are some things that you must know about me. I don't like cheating as like a plot device, and I don't really like domestic thrillers, and not really realizing that's what I started reading. I think I recorded myself. I'll insert it here if I can find it. I'm reading The Housemaid. I have some predictions that I want to record. I am like 15 chapters in. I'm on page 88. I'm in the middle of a chapter, but so far we're made to believe that Nina, the wife, is the crazy one, but I actually think that the husband might be crazy and he's just putting up a facade. And in one of the chapters recently, the narrator, which is the housemaid, actually dropped Andy instead of Andrew, and I'm wondering if they're closer than we think they are. Just being like, I think I know who the bad guy is. And yeah, I got to a point where I was like, this is not entertaining to me at all. I also don't love the representation of what they think, or how the main characters were describing like psychiatric care facility, basically calling it like the loony bin, and I just wasn't for it. It really is not a book series for me, but after reading, because I had to spoil myself, of course, after reading the spoilers, not only did I guess who the bad guy was, but also I was like, I could see how this is entertaining for others. I just don't find it entertaining. So I put that to the side pretty quickly. I am in the middle of buddy reading Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mairer. My friend and I, we are trying to like do annotations and then trade. And so it's with her right now. And she's going through a lot in her personal life. So I don't know when we'll finish it, but when we do, we will. In preparation for that, I did re-listen to the assistant to the villain. And I realized that I don't like it as much via audio or on the second read, which is sad, but I am excited to see what happens next. I also did a reread and re-listen, mostly listening, to Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I thought this was great on second read, especially with the audio. It really helped me hone in and focus. I have a couple tabs, but I wasn't able to tab up the whole book because I would be listening and the book wouldn't be near me. I was re-listening to this because I have decided that I am going to finish the rest of the series. I'm also currently in the middle of the second book, and so far it is so very good. I was a little disappointed in Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I thought I would love this book because I love animals and I love sentient animals, but there wasn't really a lot of the octopus in this book, or Marcellus, sorry, I should call him by his name. And I also felt like the main human characters, weren't easy for me to root for. And so I don't think that marks like a good or bad book per se, but for myself, for my book taste, I do enjoy when I can root for my main characters. I find the book to be just like reading to be a more enjoyable experience. A highlight here too is the Very Merry Bromance by Lisa K. Adams. This is the last of the bromance book series, and I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed this series. I do have like a little bit of a problem with some of the things in it. It feels a little like old-timey, like some of the stuff is so silly, but I just still really enjoy my time whenever I read them. So yeah, let's go to like the 4 or 5-star reads. So I listened to What My Bones Know, a memoir of healing from complex trauma by Stephanie Fu. I learned a bit about what her kind of like career was through this book, but I still can't quite remember. It's been 2 months, so I can't quite remember like what her title is. But she has directed and produced many like award-winning podcasts. I do believe that is correct. I will do that research while I edit. But yeah, so the memoir is focused on her abusive past and how it contributed to her complex PTSD and her path to healing. I felt that her writing style was very approachable and, for lack of a better word, like clean, like it was easy to read or listen to, and I was really able to understand what she was saying. And of course, this is a memoir, so it is biased, and I do feel like she tried to research a lot of it, but I'm sure she presented research that helped her case, which is kind of like the point. So yeah, I thought it was really well done. It was narrated by the author, which I thought gave a very nice personal touch, as well as there were parts of it where you can also hear parts of her kind of like sound engineering come through. She inserted recordings from her therapy sessions, and I thought that was extremely cool. This book was hard to read in the sense that her childhood trauma is hard to swallow. Like, it's not a fun thing to read about. But I thought that it was very eye-opening and a really important story to have read about. I don't know how else to say this, but I feel extremely lucky that my childhood was not like hers. But I could also see that her childhood is similar, or maybe an extreme version of a lot of like immigrant children's childhoods. I felt that there were many teachable moments in the book. I think this is a good book to read probably more physically, because then you can like take notes or highlight areas. I do think I will eventually reread this book and try to just like mark some things. There were things in there that, even though I did not have a complex PTSD or traumatic past, I think there's a lot in there to learn about. One of my favorite things that she talked about that she does for herself is, like, I've always heard people talk about writing 3 things that you're grateful for, but one thing that she said was to also mark down things that you're proud of yourself for, and that was very new to me, and I think that that would be an important practice for me as well. It wasn't a perfect 5-star just because parts of her memoir I felt like jumped timelines and I couldn't quite piece together what was happening at what time, and so it made it feel less dependable, I guess I could say. It was non-linear. It was harder for me to follow. It was also because the content of the book is heavy. It's difficult to binge listen to, honestly, for me, and so it could just be that I was missing pieces as I kept putting it down and bringing it back up in my ear. While also, as you all know, I listen a lot while I'm on walks or I am working. So if I'm working on something, I could easily just like forget something. Then I read 2 contemporary romances that I thought were great. One was a reread, The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. I still really like this book a lot. It's about an autistic and career-focused woman who hires an escort to teach her how to have sex, and they end up obviously becoming the 2 main characters and falling in love. It's great. It's also great to see a little bit of Vietnamese representation in books, as I am partially Vietnamese. The other book is called A Bossy Roommate by Jolly Day, and this is about, the plot is so long, this is about a woman who moved to the city after her fiance or boyfriend, I obviously couldn't remember, conned her, and she lost money, respect, and friends, and she was able to find a job as an assistant and free living from some nice people she knew. She goes into the city and has a one-night stand, and of course, this guy is her new boss. Once they find that out, for some reason, her new boss also needs a fake girlfriend, and she somehow ends up at his place, living there, and so she is chosen for this task. It has a lot of my favorite tropes in it. It's ridiculous. It's very spicy, for me at least, but it was really fun. I don't know what it is about. It was either the mix of like funny, but also like the tropes that I love and the characters I could root for. I just really enjoyed this audiobook, and it was done very well. I just think the author did a great job of building tension, trying to keep things interesting, even though she was using a lot of like these familiar tropes. Okay, my last book that I really liked is a little controversial. I should probably go grab it. You may have seen this book in one of my book hauls. You may have seen it at the bookstore. You may have just been like, wow, it's so pretty, I should buy it. It's probably a romantasy, and it'll be about this brave, you know, a lot of romantasies are about the girl being like, not like other girls, and being brave and being like so courageous and like badass, and they're gonna kick ass. This is not the book. It's not the book. So this book is called Under the Oak Tree by Suji Kim. There are a couple things that I think people should know about this book before they get into it. One, it is a Korean web novel that has been translated. And 2, if you're not familiar with Korean storytelling, they are long-winded. Like if you watch a K-drama or you read any of these like webtoons or web novels, they are long, they are long-winded, they are slow, and they are not afraid to make women weak in order for them to grow, right? That is like the little part, but because it's a slow pace, you're not going to see it in this first volume. You also need to be aware that the views may not be as progressive as like American women would like it to be. I I don't know, I probably sound like an ass saying that, but it really isn't. I don't know a lot about Koreans because I'm not Korean. I don't live there. I don't know much. I just love like watching K-dramas, and I also like dabble into just learning about them. But I think a lot of the bad reviews for this book are people who are expecting something and they're not getting it. And a lot of the bad reviews are DNFs. And I think that is a shame. So yeah, I will let you know a couple things that I know about this book before I even picked it up. I have read the webcomic. I have read parts of it. I've not finished it. I have read some fan translations of the novel itself. I have also, because I am a terrible person, read spoilers for this because I was very interested in this story, and I am beyond excited. I was beyond excited. I pre-ordered this book, okay? I was beyond excited to get an official translation, a way for me to support this author, because I couldn't really find a way to support this author and read the stories, and so I had to stop at some point, but because you know, like, fan translations are not really legal. So I've been looking forward to reading this so much, and it's such a bummer that so many people don't like it, but I can understand why. The webcomic does not go into as much detail as the book does, and I think the male main character is super horny and kind of ridiculous, but I still really enjoyed this book. I enjoy Maxie so much, and I enjoy this world so much. It is very slow building. For a lot of this book, it feels a little slice of life. Like, we're learning how she's learning to run the manor and be like a lord's wife, a knight's wife, which, yeah. So just a preface to what this book is about is that it's about a woman named Maxie, and this is during the medieval period with knights and princes, kings. Oh my gosh, my brain, I'm getting stuff mixed up. There are knights for sure, and dukes, and there should be a king. And basically we are learning that her dad, her very abusive father, has married her off to a knight named Riften Calypse. And this was an arranged marriage, and her dad is awful. Her dad tells her that she is not useful at all. She has a stutter, and he hates it, absolutely hates it. And this is back in the day where women are property, and they do as they're told, and they are not told what happens when they get married. They're just told that they need to take it and lie still. Now, some of the comments that I've seen in reviews are like, why even write a book about that, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, it's the author's prerogative and whether or not we want to read it. Why do I like books like this? I think it's interesting to see this type of past. I talked about reading The Bear and the Nightingale. The Bear and the Nightingale and this book actually are similar-ish in the fact that we have two female characters who are living in like these medieval times, but Vasya is probably what most readers are used to, like someone that goes outside of what is norm, and we can cheer her on because we love her tenacity and her bravery. But I think it's also important that we cheer on women who are trying to survive in their own way. Maxie is a very anxious, shy, abused woman. She's probably like 20 something. And so after she gets married, they consummate the marriage. It's not pretty, it's not sexy. And then he, the knight, is off on a campaign to kill a dragon. And in 3 years, he's able to do this, and he comes back one of the most celebrated knights in the world, in this land, and he comes back to her castle, the Duke's castle, and is like, hey, you're my wife, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be at my castle. So he collects her and brings her back. And the story starts at the end of this, at that point when he comes to get her. And she has been told a couple things right before he comes to get her. One, the princess is a magician, and the king wants to arrange a marriage with her husband, the knight, and the princess. That's number one. So her dad's already mad and is like, you're gonna get dumped and you're gonna be stuck here, and he's pissed about it. And so she's thinking this, everybody's saying this, so that's one. Two, she thinks that Riften hates her because they were made to marry, and then Riften, because they were married, had to take on this dragon campaign, right? The campaign was actually initially for her father, and this marriage made it so that he had to put his knights and his whole camaraderie, his whole band of people into danger from one of the most dangerous situations. This is what she has in her head, and throughout the book, you're not only learning about the world, learning about the magic system, but also learning, like, dealing with these kind of anxieties that she deals with. This whole book is from her perspective. We only know about Riften through her eyes, and Riften sucks at communicating. There is a whole thing online about how, like, eventually you get Riften's point of view and his thing, and I think because I've known parts of that is why I'm more forgiving. But yeah, this book is not this, okay? This book is its own thing with its own characters. I don't know why I feel like I have to defend this book so hard, but I think it's because it's like, I really like this book. I get how it's not for everyone, but I really feel crappy that people are throwing 1-star reviews at it and they DNF at like 10%. Because how are you supposed to build character if you can't build character? Not everyone is great from the beginning. So yeah, it's very much a fantasy book. There's sword and sorcery type vibe. We have knights, werewolves, all the beastly creatures. We have manners that get to be taken care of. There's a little bit of a revamp singing, if you might. This is a web novel, so it is more like episodic. It feels weird because it's like, you know, chunks at a time, and that's just the original, like, way that this story was written. I really like it. I'm really cheering her on. I never got to finish the story online, or in the webcomic, so I'm super excited to continue reading this, and I hope they will publish the entire thing in English because I really, truly want to be able to read all of it because, yeah, I think it'll be fantastic. So yes, that is my November and December wrap-up. I hope everyone has a great new year and that everyone had a great year reading last year. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much for watching my videos and subscribing if you have. If you haven't, I hope you'll consider it. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Happy reading, happy snacking. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.